Okay, so last time in our course, we built this basic house. So today, we're going to get a bit deeper and look at windows. Okay, so these are the windows that we have. This is what you should have. These are the basic ones that you'll use the most. The Explorer, the Output, and Properties window. Okay, say I just take one of these parts that I used to build the house last time. If I click on it, a lot of properties all of a sudden come up in this window. I'm going to attempt to explain to you what all of them mean. Brick color can change the color to whatever you want. So this is just essentially the color. Cast shadow, that will just depend whether it casts shadow or not. Color, again, same thing. Material, brick, so we can change the material from here too. We can also change the material variant. We can change the reflectance here, so that will, if it was glass or something, it would make it shiny. Transparency, we can make it see-through. So if we change this, then we can make it like a see-through brick, which like doesn't really work. Locked. So if it's locked, I can't select it anymore. Just like the base plate, is always locked unless you unlock it. If it's locked, that means I'm not able to select it, so I'll have to select it through the Explorer, so I don't want it to be locked. Name is its name, obviously. I can name it to brick wall if I wanted, and it will come up in the Explorer called brick wall. Its parent is the workspace, so if I put it inside another part, the parent will change to the other part. So it's important that that's the workspace if you want to be able to select it. Size. So if I this is the essentially the size. So if I can change this to 12, or I could change this to 120. So depending on size you want, that you can also change it from here for more precise measures. And then position, you can change the position amount. So if I put it to 6, it will move it up a bit. As you can see, if I put it to 60, now it's way up in the sky. So we have it there. That's that one. Okay, so then farther down, we have orientation. This is the rotation that I showed you. Can collide. So if I uncheck this, I'll show you this real fast. I'll be able to run right through the wall. So since I unchecked can collide, this could be, say I wanted there to be some sort of secret door in this house, but you can only find it by ramming into stuff. See? Oh, this is a hard wall, right? Oh, I can go right through this one. So you can make lots of cool secret stuff with the can collide function. But if I set can collide to true, then that will make it so I'll just ram right into the wall like usual. So I want to make sure that's on. And can touch, that's say if I made it so when it's the player touched the wall, it turned purple. Then if I uncheck that, then that won't be able to happen. Collision group ID, that's more complicated collision stuff. Anchored, this is what we did up here. Make sure it's anchored, otherwise it will fall apart. Center of mass, just mass where it will come from. Custom physical properties, I can make it like bouncy. There's the mass. It will change depending on how big the part is. See, if you look right there, when I scale it, the mass will change to higher. So that depends on how fast it will fall, stuff like that. This massless property, if this is welded to another part that has mass, then I can just check that, and it will have its mass will equal nil. If you hover over these, it will tell you what they do, which is useful. If you see an integer, see this is if you ever don't remember what to do, you can always hover over them and it will tell you what to do. That is the basic part properties. Now, if I choose something different, let me see this spawn location. This is essentially a part with teams and force field. Down here, it has all the stuff that the part has, except down here, force field. So if I set it to 100, 1 million, whatever, the player will always have a force field around them. Allow team change. This is for changing teams. So say you had a criminals team and a cops team, or a blue team and a red team, and this was the spawn for the red team. Then that means if a blue team player stepped on it, then it would become a red team player. So you can see now I have this force field around me, and I will have it for like 1,000 seconds. See, no longer does our wall be able to be walked through. So that's the properties windows for you. If I go to like say in the base plate, there's a texture. This texture has all sorts of different stuff. So remember, you can always look at Roblox documentation and also hover over it. So like a bunch of this has documentation directly in Studio. You can see the index. This one just says Z index, which isn't much help. All this will be covered later. So this is the basic properties window. Then here we have the Explorer. So anything that you put into your game will appear in the Explorer. Remember that thing that we called brick wall earlier? There it is right here. And we can automatically select it from the Explorer. So if I select it here, it gets selected in the Explorer. If I select it in the Explorer, it gets selected there. So this is a way, if you have tons and tons of parts in your game and you want to find the one called brick wall, I can just search up brick wall and boom, I found it. So that's what the Explorer is for. Also, if you have, see in the spawn location right here, we have this cool texture on top. Say, I don't really want that. I can go in there and delete it. This is where you find all the children. A parent this is the ultimate parent of everything is the workspace, okay? Then inside the workspace, you have all the children. So these are all called children, but some of the children are actually parents. So if you see the base plate right here, this big thing, or let's take the spawn location. This guy's a parent because he has children right there, see? If it has something inside it, it's a parent. But this one right here, this is only a child right here. This is only a child because it doesn't have anything inside it. But if I added a script, then it would all of a sudden become a parent because there's something inside it. And this script would only be a child, but we don't need to, we're going to get into scripting later. So also another useful thing, just randomly, if you want to jump around, say I'm way over here and I want to get over there, I can click on any part and press on your keyboard F, and it will teleport you to it. So that's a useful little trick. And back to the windows. So this is the Explorer. Workspace is what you always have all your parts in. Lighting, this is the atmosphere, all this stuff. If I delete all this, then my sky looks a lot weirder. So it's made so that this is a basic lighting arrangement. We can always change that later, which we'll be getting into. Starter player, this has the starter player scripts and stuff. So this is what makes the player run. Material service, that's your materials. Replicated first is, say you want, say a start screen. You want the first script to run in your game would be the start screen, like the loading sign. So you would put it in replicated first because that's the first thing that's replicated into your game. Replicated storage is where you'd put something that you want to be cloned at any point. Server script service, this is where you put the server scripts. So say the scripts that run the day-night system. Starter GUI, that's where you have all your GUIs for your game. GUIs are graphical user interface, which is like, say, your money or your teleport button or anything you want. Starter pack, that's where you put the tools. If a player has a tool in their hand, or if they have a gun or a pickaxe or a shield, anything, you put it in there, and the player will be able to start with it. The starter player has starter character scripts. This is replicated into the character. So your guy, there's a difference between the player and the character. I'll show you that real fast. So the player is what's on the server side. So the server, this is the server side is running here in the Explorer. See, I can change between the client, which is what my player's in right now, and the server. Server is this. I can move around. This is like Studio. But there's my guy. He's separate. If I go into the client real fast, and see I can walk around. But there's a difference between me in the players area. See, Jab 2 Roblox right there. I have all the stuff right here that we'll look into more later. See, this is the GUI. This is a GUI right there. There's my player, but then in the workspace, here's my character. So if I click on me here, nothing happens. But if I click on me here, then I can move myself around, do whatever I want. But you have to. It's always important that you understand that there's a difference between the character and the player. The player will be in the players section up here, but the character will be in the workspace usually. Okay, and then teams, this would be if you have red team, blue team, whatever. Sound service, that's for sounds, obviously. Chat, obviously here. Okay, so that is our basic Explorer. Properties, here. Output, we'll be using this a lot later when we get into scripting, but this set will give us an error. If we make our script wrong, it will tell us down here. We can print messages down here. So this is basic output. So these are the three main windows you're going to be using, and then like some more advanced like property manager, a material manager here. This is one that's useful a lot because you just have this to change the material of stuff. And then also another one you might be using a lot as a beginner is the toolbox. So up here you can see something called the toolbox. If you click on that, it will open it here, or you could put it on the side like this, wherever. And the toolbox is useful, but not useful. It depends on what you use it for. So toolbox is a ton of assets that were made by other people. So say if I wanted to add a vehicle, we can see here, there's a bunch of cars, there's a bunch of boats, there's a bunch of planes, helicopters, tanks, everything we could want. So I can add these, like say this car looks cool. I could add that, working boat, helicopter, tank, spaceship, so much stuff that you can use. All of this has been scripted by other people. So if I put this near my spawn location, this would take us a couple of hours to code at a basic level. But if we use the toolbox, see here, you can look down here, a good example of the output. All these are a bit of broken stuff that they put in their game. Their car has been broken by either updates by Roblox or they just wrote bad script. But so you can see here, if I jump in, it's a working car that I didn't have to script any of. So that's very useful, and also it's a very loud engine. But that's extremely useful for beginners because then they don't have to script everything right there. And see lights. If you add light, there's all sorts of lights that people have made right here. We'll obviously get into all of this ourselves. Yep. But so toolbox useful. This is so I'll go over it. Creations. This is ones that you submitted to the community to use. So that's your stuff that you've put on there. Recent is recent models that you've used. Inventory is what you've purchased sort of on off the toolbox on the Roblox website. And then models is just pretty much everything else. You can pretty much get anything you want on this. So also, but always be careful because there is violent stuff on the toolbox, so you want to be careful with what you use. So you also remember it's very good to give credit to people if you use their stuff on the toolbox because they spent time making it for you. Okay, so that's the basic toolbox properties. You can click here to turn it on, click here to turn it off, or you can just click the X in the corner. Finally, the editor here. This is terrain editing, which we'll get into later. But basically, terrain editing is so you can paint mountains and paint valleys, add rivers. There's three different. We will get into this deeper later. And then if you go into view, these are all windows. So if you want to go in depth and learn every single one of these, it will take me a long time to go through them all. But these are all used for something, and they're all useful. So you can go and learn about these on your own if you want. But I covered the main ones. So what I've showed you is the basic um, ones that we will be using in this course. So that's it for this lesson.